I've received a lot of calls in my office in the last few days. Some are offering help to the people of Puerto Rico, but many are from moms and dads hoping to hear from their children, from children hoping to hear from their moms and dads, from grandchildren worried about an elderly grandparent who is still in Puerto Rico. 2 weeks after the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, there are people who have not been heard from and people who are calling for help but haven't received it yet. I have had members of Congress, state and local officials, and people from all over the country call me to tell me someone who needs help getting out of Puerto Rico. Their mom is still in Puerto Rico, her cousin is on dialysis and has not been heard from. And can I help them get to a hospital on the mainland? These calls are heartbreaking because they are all about U.S. citizens who should be treated better 2 weeks after a calamity, even a devastating calamity like Hurricane Maria. Most of the calls I've received have been from my constituents in Chicago. Here is one example that was summarized to me by my staff member in Chicago. She said, "Congressman, I received a call." I won't give her name. She lives in Illinois, but has an aunt who is in a hospital in Guaynabo, Puerto Rico, who is very ill with cancer. She is requesting assistance from our office to get her aunt out of Puerto Rico so she can receive treatment in Chicago. And Mr. Speaker, if you take a look at my Facebook, you will see the same sort of thing. Manny writes, "The municipality of Arecibo, a coastal town in northern part of Puerto Rico, has not received help. I spoke to my family there via text, and they said the situation there is dire." Yanni writes, "Please don't forget Ay Bonito. The people there are hungry, thirsty, and there are many sick who need medicine. Thank you." I just spoke 10 minutes ago to Maria in Chicago, and she said, "Congressman, I haven't heard from my parents in Calle." It's tragic. Mr. Speaker, these messages break my heart, but I don't know what to tell people except to say that help may be on the way soon, but of course, that's not good enough. And I have no explanation for why it is not already there. It certainly is not the fault of the brave men and women who work for FEMA and the armed forces. I spent a lot of time with them in Puerto Rico while I was there, and they're working hard, they're tired, and facing difficult tasks of finding and feeding people. From what I saw in Puerto Rico this last weekend, what I am hearing from my constituents, and what I am hearing from my family and friends, we need to seriously ramp up the use of full capacity and capabilities of the U.S. government, including the U.S. military, to rescue people. They don't need paper towels tossed at them like T-shirts at a sports arena. They need helicopters, bridges, cell towers, and generators, which is why I was frankly horrified by our president's performance yesterday on the island. He said that Puerto Rico was making his budget out of whack, as if the monetary cost of saving lives is what we should be focusing on, or that an agenda to cut taxes is really as important as saving people's lives in danger. From the beginning, he has focused on the cost of saving Puerto Ricans, not the moral duty to save them. He has essentially said that Puerto Ricans are sitting around looking for handouts and not helping themselves, which is not at all what I saw in Puerto Rico this past weekend, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, the president said we should all feel proud because only 16 people have been listed as officially listed by Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Really? We should feel proud? Yes. He said that a real tragedy like Hurricane Katrina killed many more people, thousands, he said. So I guess he's saying, hey, only 16, why the big fuss? And that number doubled overnight, by the way. And everyone understands that it will go up farther still when contact is made with all parts of the island. I look at it a little different. To me, it is almost like Hurricane Maria has posed a test to the United States of America and to our president. The hurricane said, I'm going to take 34 souls. That is 34 too many, but that's what I'm going to take. Now, I'm leaving it up to you, America, Mr. President, and you, the people in Congress, tell me, what will you do to prevent that number from going any higher? Are you getting medicine to the sick? Are you evacuating the aunt with cancer and the cousin on dialysis? Are you providing safe drinking water and flights to safety? Mr. Speaker, I don't think today's body count is the right metric to look at but rather we should be challenging ourselves to make sure it doesn't go higher. The most serious event in Puerto Rican modern history may not qualify as a significant disaster to our president, but let us not sit back and allow the body count to change the president's mind.
Gentleman's
We just
time's
can't
expired.
wait that long.